I started to look back and realize that I would go outside with my students and get sweaty and warm and come back into the cold, and I was having flare-up after flare-up.
With each episode, her blood vessels would rupture, causing the severe discoloration and swelling.
As the blood vessels burst, initially the color is more reddish, and once it's out in the tissues for a while, it can change more to a blackish color. There can be swelling because the blood has difficulty getting back up the legs because the channels have been damaged.
Unbeknownst to Diane, every time she crawled into bed, she was helping to diminish the effects of the condition.
Staying at home under the covers would allow the legs to warm, would allow the jelly material to turn back to normal liquid.
But as soon as she was back on her feet, her legs would be exposed to cool air again, and the agonizing attacks would return with a vengeance.
It was all kind of starting to come together, but it was hard to grasp everything he was explaining to me.
And after struggling with the debilitating disease for more than 2 years, Diane can't help but wonder why it took so long to get a diagnosis.
Cryoglobulinemia is relatively rare. We don't know why people like Diane develop this process. Cryoglobulins will not show up specifically in other blood tests. It takes doing the specific procedures to look for them, to find them.
But the harsh truth is undeniable. If Diane had not been properly diagnosed when she was, her future would have been bleak.
It's possible to have kidney failure or problems with circulation in the heart that might lead to heart attack or stroke. Progressive damage to the blood vessels can lead to either difficulty with walking or actual need for amputation.
I asked him, what can I take to make my body get better again? And what he told me would change my life forever.
Diane Dyke has just discovered that she has an extremely rare and potentially life-threatening blood disorder called cryoglobulinemia. It causes her blood to solidify into a jelly-like substance when her body temperature drops significantly below 98.6 degrees.
I thought, it'll be such a blessing when that's over and I don't have to face that day after day.
Unfortunately, though, Diane must now learn to live with a grim reality.
There's no cure that we know of for cryoglobulinemia. The first treatment is to keep the extremities warm. Another factor that can be used to treat the inflammation is a steroid anti-inflammatory.
I had expected there would be a clean-cut answer to overcome it and to beat it, but that was not what I got. So it was a very overwhelming moment.
Individuals with cryoglobulinemia have to avoid exposure to cold as a key factor in their daily living. We don't think what it would mean to have that kind of limitation in our lives.
The normal everyday activities that I'd so often taken for granted would not be safe for me to do anymore. So I had to wear gloves and mittens and lots of layers of clothing. And that's just not something that's normal in a grocery store in Florida, to see someone with full-on ski gear just to get through their shopping experience.
Diane must also make sure to limit the amount of stress put on her body, which unfortunately means giving up her most cherished hopes.
It is inadvisable for someone with cryoglobulinemia to have children. Blood clots are a higher incident during pregnancy. That broke my heart. I'd always wanted to have children. I even had their names picked out.
It's a trying time for Diane, but over the years she has learned to manage her disease, even though it has meant letting go of her career goals.
I had to give up my life dream and my career of teaching. The variables that I couldn't control in the classroom were just too dangerous for me. And it was so disappointing. I felt so alone. But then the athlete in me wanted to rise up and say, okay, we can beat this.
Today, 16 years since she was diagnosed, Diane is successfully fighting her disease. Her optimism and spirit were the first things Paul Dyke noticed when they were introduced.
At a dinner party, I met Paul, and less than a month later, he proposed to me on Valentine's Day.
Diane is my hero. Her ability to look at life in the positive way that she does has impacted so many people.
He's tried to help me every step of the way to find a way to overcome this disease.
Diane is a go-getter. It's amazing what she does despite her physical challenges.
Through our organization called Second Chance with Saving Grace, I try to encourage people, no matter how sick or broken they feel, that there's important things that only they can do. And that's brought such purpose to my life. Whether they have to roll me in on a gurney, I'm going to go, and I'm going to let people know that they matter and to not give up no matter what.
While Diane Dyke experienced painful episodes that waxed and waned over a period of years,